All right. I think he's here. Good. We're ready to go. Mark, are you ready to go?
Yes.
We are ready to go. Hey, I'm Jeff, and this is What Do We Know?
And I'm Mike.
And I'm Mark. Yeah, that went
Hey!
well.
Except I said the beginning at the end.
Wait,
The end at the beginning.
Already said,
Whatever.
you know
We
what?
said all that
When
stuff.
you were not here, Mark and I didn't have any trouble with that.
Yeah, whatever. You know what? Roll that fucking music.
Whenever I answer the phone, I'm like, hello.
What pissed you off?
It's a great argument to have.
I love my mom, but I think she's half crazy for doing that.
How dare you?
Do you work with your girlfriend, Mark? Or your wife, Mark?
I keep them separated. Sometimes I call people, they don't answer the phone. I'm like,
Wrong number, click.
Well, he's not that smart. Sometimes he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
yeah.
Go.
Therefore, you're an ass, and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, but what do we know?
So,
That worked out well. That was a good. That's what we call a good segue here in the podcasting business.
Yeah.
so I do have to ask you, Mark and
Okay.
Mike. Do you know what Uber is?
Yes.
So what?
Haven't
What
we
do you,
talked about this before?
we did, but
I've used
want to
it.
I want to talk about it again. You used it. What is Uber?
It's a taxi company
Uber is
without the
a
licensing
company-
fees.
It's basically a service company where basically it connects users to other users, and basically they get money from transactions between those two. Sort of like PayPal.
Wait, what? You think Uber's like PayPal? I've never heard this analogy before. I'm really curious to see where this goes.
So PayPal is basically a bank, right?
Yes.
But it works basically by connecting retailers to users, but them themselves aren't really selling a product. They're just sort of like the in-between between two.
So you're
parties.
looking at Uber as the parent company of all these drivers.
Well, no, it's more. It's like you have Airbnb. They
Uh-huh.
don't actually own any apartments, but they basically the in between two apartments.
Okay,
right?
okay, I got the analogy you're making, but
Right.
Uber itself is Mike said straight up when he just said his thought process on what Uber is taxi cab company
Without the licensing
without the
fees.
licensing fee. So do you remember when Uber was in all these lawsuits?
It still is.
Yeah.
Still is in all these lawsuits. And what was the definition that Uber tried to set themselves out for so that they said they weren't a taxi cab company?
They don't own any taxis. I don't know.
No, they were a rideshare service. Was the
Okay.
argument that they went for is that they were a rideshare service. They're not a taxi cab company. They're a rideshare service.
So actually, that would be a totally horrible place to jump off from, I would feel like, because file sharing is villainized throughout the industry at this point, and you're basically just calling yourself a different version of that, right?
Okay, I can understand that. So, but hear me out for a second here. This is crazy to me.
Okay.
Uber has prided themselves on being this rideshare service. They've gotten around all the laws. They've won a lot of court battles because they're not a taxi cab company. They're a rideshare service. What,
right.
in your opinion, is a rideshare service? What would a rideshare service offer you that a taxi cab company would not? Like, to separate them from a taxi cab company, what would a rideshare service be?
Well, technically, wouldn't that be whatever Uber's definition of a rideshare service is? Because that doesn't really exist.
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to stop you guys both right there because I seem to have lost you. Hold on. Oh, wait.
Oh,
Somebody's back. I don't know what just happened there. There was a pause in the internet for a moment, but I think we are back. So go on, rideshare service.
so to me, like rideshare, basically, this is kind of a new concept, right? This is something that Uber has just sort of invented to make itself distanced from the taxi services and create its own brand.
I wouldn't say they invented it. They invented it as a commercial product, but yes, ride shares have been around for a long time. The question is, what do you consider a rideshare service? What would you, if you heard the term rideshare, think that rideshare was?
See, I'm not really sure because our rideshare is supposed to be like carpooling, where you don't actually have to pay anyone. Everyone just agrees that like we take turns driving.
Well, let's ignore the aspect of money for a second. And
Okay.
I'm with you. The first place your mind went to was carpooling, right?
Yeah.
Well, but when I think of rideshare, I more think of like your ride. I mean, maybe this is coming from like Flint, where sort of monetized carpooling is sort of a more predominant thing, where people ride buses and take your ride all over the place. And essentially, for those of you who don't know, your ride is basically like this fleet of vans that sort of have this route that goes around and picks people up and takes them to wherever they're going because they don't have a vehicle, and they pay this amount of money to make these.
So, but it's like
on a regular basis.
it's like a between a bus and a taxi, though.
Right? Yeah, sort of. Yep.
So do you want to hear what Uber's new secondary business option is that they're about to start?
A taxi service?
Google Pool. The Google carpooling option.
Oh, why did they call it Google then?
Or excuse me, not Google. I jumped ahead of myself. Uber Pool. I was so Google. Google has named so many things after themselves. It just was ingrained in my mind that I wanted to call it Google Pool. But it's Uber Pool.
So are they gonna take a cut of the fare, or how is that gonna work?
Basically, what they're going to do now is they're starting a secondary service that's going to be them going from point A to point B, but they're going to pick up people along the way. You tell them, like, you get in Google, Uber as it is, and you say,
Stop saying Google.
I know Google is like, it's alphabet now anyway, like fucking alphabet. But you tell them you're going to like, for me in DC, I tell them I'm going to Union Station. They're going to pick up 3 people on the way to Union Station from my house because it's a carpooling option of Uber, which is exactly what Uber already won the battle on of what they supposedly currently are against the taxi cab companies is now their secondary business that they're starting in the next coming months. So,
Well,
go ahead.
well, I was going to say that it's not exactly. You wouldn't argue that they're not they're a taxi car company again, because taxis you don't usually car share, right?
That is absolutely correct, which is why they won their thing in the first place. Their lawsuits in the first place is because they claimed they were a rideshare service, but now they're opening their secondary business branch as being exactly what they claimed they were in the first place.
Well, doesn't that sort of act to sort of cement them over onto that side of this argument, though?
It does now with their secondary service. The problem is their primary service that they've already won this argument on is obviously not what they claimed it was in the first place, or they wouldn't start this as a secondary service, correct? How can you now claim that you're a rideshare service when your second business is a rideshare business and your first one is identical to the way taxi cabs work?
But I mean, I think they're just changing the definition of what they. They're
No.
not changing the
Uber
what they're
Pool
doing.
is different than Uber. Uber and Uber Pool are going to be completely separate things.
Okay.
Well, but I would argue that they are separate things, because Uber is not like a ride-sharing service. So granted, I've
That's
only
hold on. That's the problem that you run into right there. Is Uber has already won in court that they are a rideshare service.
Right, on a technicality, yes. But when you have the Uber app on your phone and you say, I need a ride somewhere, there's not going to be 10 people in the car when they pick you up. It's just going to be
I see.
you driving.
I'll argue the other side, right? Is that they're both rideshare service, except for one's a rideshare service of one person, while Uber Pool is a rideshare service with other people. And that's almost like,
How can you share a ride with one person? As that one person being yourself.
Okay, 2 people then. The driver.
The driver, are you going to go with the driver?
Yeah,
so what are taxis then?
Pool is-
Are taxis ride shares? Or are taxis taxis?
See, I don't really buy the whole Uber rideshare thing. Now, Uber basically should have said that we're a mediator between businesses or something like that, where they don't own anything. They're not a company. They're just a mediator, which is like I said, similar to PayPal, which PayPal, although it's sort of a bank.
But
You know,
that's
more-
where Uber would have failed catastrophically, and they went on a very strategic argument because taxi cab companies are the mediator to the taxis and the taxi drivers.
So here's
because
the
taxi
difference.
companies own the taxis and employ the people that work for them.
They don't all. They don't all. There's a taxi union. You have to be within the taxi cab union and have license through the taxi cab union in order to be able to drive taxi cabs.
So, yeah, but that doesn't mean that those taxi cab drivers.
Some people
aren't
own
working.
their personal vehicles are what they use for taxi cabs.
So to me, when you talk about ride sharing versus taxis, when you think about a taxi, you think about this driver is paid by a company, whether they own the vehicle or not. You know, to me, that's sort of less important. But they are employed by a company to drive around for whatever their shift is, 8 hours or whatever, and to pick up whoever has their thumb out and take them where they want to go. Whereas Uber, I don't know if you guys have ever looked into like driving for Uber or read anything about driving for Uber, but those people have total control on where they go, who they pick up. They can base it, strictly on past Uber drivers, recommendations on how this person is and how they tip and, all these things. So they're not obligated to go pick this person up. When you talk about ride share, they're literally like, do I want to share my car and my drive with this person?
And if you really want to go with this argument of the taxi cab drivers and stuff like that, you could say that Uber. Let's say if you are a taxi cab person that owns your own vehicle, in this case, you're your own employee, right? And if you use Uber, you're just using Uber as a go-between, and you're not employed by them. You're just using them as a service.
No, the
right?
taxi cab drivers who own their own taxi cabs, they still are within the boundaries of the taxi union, and they still have to be licensed under the taxi. I could still be my own business, but I still have to get licensed properly through the right.
But that's my point. Like, if you're a taxi cab driver, you're your own business, right? So if you either work for a taxi cab company or you drive your own taxi and you own your own business. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you're a taxi cab company or you own your own taxi cab. You can still use Uber as a service to improve the amount of people you have that you can pick up. So Uber still is a service. It's not actually an employer in any way.
So I guess I'm not sure how the taxi industry works, but like if you own a taxi cab, are you really your own boss?
No, you're still.
That's what I thought.
You're still bound and guided by the regulations of the taxi cab industry, which I don't know all the ins and outs of. But as a person who owns their own taxi cab, you can't just take that taxi cab with the taxi cab laws and get your clients through Uber. I don't know why. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I know exactly why. I'm just saying you can't. I don't understand it. The laws are completely different. Like that, there's so many taxi laws that exist, which is, I'm not saying that I'm upset about Uber. I love Uber. I use it all the time. I'm very happy they won because I think something needed to come to break up what the taxi cabs were. However, I am baffled by the fact that they won based on an argument that of a business model they didn't even have until recently, by saying that they were something that they're now branching into as a secondary business. That's what baffles me.
But it's basically like the understanding of what the word means, right? Mm. So I want to use this opportunity to segue onto another topic.
Go ahead.
And my topic is, because we don't really know what card sharing and all that means. My question is, what the heck is a sandwich?
Wait, what? A sandwich?
Yeah. So what's your definition of a sandwich?
Meat between two pieces of bread? It doesn't even have to be meat, but something between two pieces of bread that you...
So that was the first point. Like, does it have to be meat between two pieces of bread?
It does not have to be meat, because you can have a vegetarian sandwich.
or you get peanut butter and jelly
Peanut
sandwich.
butter and
right?
jelly. Yeah,
Those are all sandwiches.
Okay.
So this is something I did, argue with my wife.
By the way, let me just say this is shaping up to be one of my favorite topics of all time because I'm a big fan of sandwiches.
Hot dogs, are they sandwiches?
Huh. Never really thought about hot
No.
dogs in the form of a sandwich, but I guess by definition, I could put a hot dog in a sandwich category. I could do it.
Wait a minute. Okay, so, all right. I have a very strong opinion on this, and I'm going to lay it down right now.
All right.
So my first initial thought was absolutely not, because the bread is still connected at the bottom.
Subway used to be as well.
Exactly. That
yes.
was exactly my next thought, was that Subway subs, I don't know if you guys are that familiar with the way Subway used to do things.
With a
but they used to
triangle
just-
cut
yes,
at
they
the
would
top.
just cut like a triangle out of the top of the bread and put the gunk in the middle.
I used to love that triangle cut because I felt like I got more topping. And obviously you don't get more topping like that way.
It's
You probably
actually
get way
probably
less.
less,
Yeah, you probably
yeah.
get way less. That was such a good business model. And now I look at it, and when I get
Right.
Subway subs, I think Subway's delicious. They open it all up, and they slap all this stuff in there. And I'm like, man, if they triangle cut that, it would look so much bigger. So I don't know why they went away from that business model in the first place. But go on, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's actually, so now I'm not really sure. Like, my whole world is kind of rocked right now.
So what if they gave you? What if you went to Subway today and you were like, I want that whole grain oat bread. I don't remember which one's got all the fancy stuff on the outside. And you were like, but I want it the old way. I want it triangle cut. And the guy looked at you and you were like, you trust me, just triangle cut it. And he triangle cut the thing for you. And he was like, this looks weird. I didn't work at Subway back in like the 1980s when you were born, you little rock star kid, you
probably
whatever.
90s.
And,
Probably 90s.
and then he pulled the thing out and you're like, can now put 3 hot dogs in it. And that's what I want as my sub. Like, would you consider that a sandwich? If they just triangle cut it and throw 3 hot dogs in there?
You know, all right, so I thought I had a firm foundation on where to stand on this. However, the more I think about it and the more I compare it to that Subway sandwich, which, by the way, when they had like the cold cut combo that they would definitely cut the triangle out of and throw the meat on there, I would have called that a sandwich all day, and I would have fought you know, tooth and nail on that. However, if you just cut that triangle out and throw hot dogs on it, I'm not 100% sure that's a quote-unquote sandwich.
Okay.
So I really don't, this is one of those things where, like the Coke and Pepsi challenge, where I thought
Right.
I was 100% certain on my stance on this thing, and now my whole, it's like sort of an earth-shattering
Question and realization.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Mark, what brought this up? Because there had to be something big that made you think of it.
Right.
This is something that I've never thought about in my life before, on whether a hot dog
and
is a
and I hope
sandwich.
it's super important, because you might have just ruined my life. I'm not sure.
No, my wife asked me because she considers it a sandwich, and I was like, no, it's a hot dog. It's a different food category altogether. And then it just sort of, if you consider a hot dog a sandwich, right? And this is like, do we understand the meaning of the words that we even use? Okay, fine. If we say that a hot dog is a sandwich, and that's because basically it's between two bread.
pieces of bread.
But to me, it's mostly just one bread with stuff on top. To me, it would be more like an open-faced sandwich where you have one piece of bread and then something on top of it, right?
So, but technically, when you think about a sandwich, I mean, really, when you slice bread, it's still off of one piece of bread. It's just 2 pieces. So when you only cut the slice halfway, I suppose it makes sense to me now that a hot dog is actually a sandwich. I guess I've just never considered it that way.
But okay, so follow me on this train of thought because it gets really confusing, right?
I'm ready. I get serious when I talk about sandwiches, so I'm ready to go down whatever rabbit hole you want to go down.
So I'm sort of like, okay, so hot dogs between the bread, not really between, it's sort of set on top. It's sort of like an open.
It's definitely
it's
between.
between.
It's definitely
It's
between.
between.
You don't just take
but
You don't just take a bun and throw a fucking like sausage on top of it. You
Well, I mean,
split it
isn't that
open a little bit. It goes
Okay.
inside.
You
It's
gotta-
like that triangle cut.
You got
Like-
Right.
you got to create a gap.
There you go.
Right.
It
gotta
has to
spread
be a
them-
gap?
Spread,
Is that-
spread
is
the
that
buns
what-
apart.
Yeah.
Well,
Put the
okay,
meat
so
in.
you got me thinking about open face sandwiches. Are they still considered sandwiches?
I mean, by definite or by terminology. Let me speak for a second. By terminology, yes. By definition, I would say no.
So you wouldn't consider like ham and cheese on top of bread a sandwich?
No, I would not. I
If
feel
you just put it on top of one piece of bread.
I feel calling it an open face sandwich is
Oh.
something that people do, like that culinary thing. Like when I watch a lot of culinary shows, and when
Right.
they talk about like
I
doing
do too.
a
Deconstructed.
deconstructed,
sandwich,
exactly. A
Right.
deconstructed thing is not truly the thing that they claim that it's supposed to be. An open face sandwich is not truly a sandwich. But
So
I
somebody took a
understand
hamburger
where, I
and just
understand
put a-
where the term comes from, but I'm not going to consider your open face ham and cheese a ham and cheese sandwich.
But you know what? I just thought about a game changer. What about a hot roast beef sandwich?
But if you got a piece of bread on top of it, it's a fucking
But-
sandwich.
all right.
All you do is take that open face like ham and cheese and throw a piece of bread on top of it. No, you're right. It's a sandwich.
All right, so
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I have two serious points right now. Number one, I don't think I've ever thrown a piece of bread on top of my hot roast beef sandwich. It's always just
Well, you've never
bread.
thrown a piece of bread on top of your open face hot roast beef. Keep that sandwich part out of there, sir.
I guess that's true. And the number 2 point I should bring up at this point in the show is that I keep looking over to my right, and we
Is there a
haven't.
bug over there or something?
Right, there's
It's-
definitely a giant gnat
Yes.
to the right side of me, and it's just
Ah!
a semi-live show right now. Except for
Oh,
we're not in.
wow. Here, let me
Oh,
try.
I'm gonna go into Mark's view.
yeah.
Wait, that didn't work.
I'm not
We
in-
tried.
How did that happen?
That's pretty weird.
All right, let's
Um,
continue. Let's continue.
That's all right.
This is serious.
So okay, so you said between two slices of bread, or between a wedge or something like that, right? Makes a sandwich.
Yes.
So
I
if you-
would put a hot dog way more in the category of sandwich than an open face sandwich. But the
Okay.
thing is, if you eat the open face sandwich with a fork, if you pick up that open face sandwich and squish it in half, now you got a sandwich that you're holding in your hand.
Well, then would you consider a Big Mac a sandwich?
Yes.
Because it's not. It's
multiple
meat-
pieces of bread.
So
just
a burger
bread and-
is a sandwich?
Hell yeah.
Is it like a double sandwich?
Yeah,
Or is it like
oh,
a sandwich
yeah.
and a half?
Sandwich doesn't stop at layers, sir. It's just you need at
Alright.
least another layer,
Well,
and then it's a
I
sandwich.
suppose a club sandwich is basically.
Is a Big Mac without burger. It's just
So-
like ham and turkey and shit.
So what about, and I'm pretty sure if I'm not mistaken, we've had this conversation before, and Jeff is one of these weirdos that folds pieces of pizza in half. Is that
Sometimes.
then a sandwich?
Oh God! If it's got enough pepperoni,
It's got
and
bread
stuff
on
it.
both sides.
Oh
at
God! Now that
point?
for me,
Whoa.
that is a mind exploder right there.
So,
Game
wait.
changer.
So, Mike, are you basically saying a stromboli is technically a sandwich?
Oh, wow.
You see, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't. You,
So, well, I guess so. Let's take this to a simpler basis for a minute. A gyro or a gyro or a hero. You guys are all
Right.
wrong for saying that, but it's a gyro. So
Gyro.
one of those though. If
I feel like
is
that's
it-
a sandwich.
so that is a sandwich. It's not just a wrap. So what's the difference between a
Right.
wrap and a sandwich? I guess I just want to get basics down for everybody to know where we stand on things.
So
Yeah, right.
wrap is
'Cause I was
wrapped
gonna-
up like a burrito.
Yeah, it was a burrito sandwich now.
um,
So what's the difference between a burrito and a
It's like
wrap?
some kind of freaking rabbit hole when you start considering a hot dog a sandwich, and you're like, well, then what constitutes the sandwich? And
yeah,
then you're like,
man.
everything's
I know.
a sandwich.
I feel like we opened Pandora's box.
Can
and
we-
It's a bad situation.
who's the guy on Food Network that's the sandwich king? Can we call him? He lives in D.C. Maybe I'll go see him when I get back in town.
I feel like we definitely need to tweet him Or
That's,
we need to create a hashtag where
is a hot dog a sandwich? Hashtag is a hot dog, or hashtag hot dog is sandwich, or hot dog sandwich.
hot dog sandwich. Yeah, right. And create
It's-
right. We need to make some waves here. But
Wow.
I don't remember his name, so we need
So
to.
let's get burrito out of it for a minute, just to see. Gyro, you think gyro sandwich?
I do.
Mark.
I would say probably a sandwich.
You call it a sandwich? Oh, so difference, like when you look at a menu of a restaurant, you always see the difference between
Like Taco Bell, and you see a
Although
like
well,
a one
I'm just
chalupa?
saying, like, not Taco Bell. I'm saying, like, you see places with, like, entrees, appetizers, blah, blah, blah. A lot of them have a wraps section. And in the wrap
Right.
section is never hamburgers. It's always, like, gyros, blah, chicken wrap, whatever it is.
right.
Sandwiches are always somewhere else, like, quote-unquote sandwiches, burgers, this and that.
Right.
Are those really one in the same category?
I feel like wraps most of the time are like tortillas.
The tortillas pita.
Yeah, it's a kind of breading, isn't it?
It is, well, it's
Well,
some
but-
type of exterior.
Right. I was going to say, by our definition that we're sort of loosely using, bread with anything in the middle is a sandwich. So.
Right. But what makes
Whoa.
then it goes like, oh, then is it technically bread?
Well,
I
you know
don't
what?
know.
Well, that
Tortilla
definition,
bread.
though, pizza's way more
pita
of a sandwich
bread?
than a burrito is.
Boom.
It's like, because that's definitely bread around cheese, meat, a sauce of some type.
Right. Like,
yeah.
Right.
every delicious thing you could ever put into a sandwich is in a folded piece of pizza.
Wow.
I just blew your mind.
You did. I never thought of pizza or stromboli. Like even like
Yeah,
pizza,
it's
you can
stromboli.
really throw people off with. Then you just tell them, "Oh, stromboli is already that." Nobody thinks a stromboli is a sandwich.
By the
Yeah.
way, to the guy who does podcast quote of the week, who, by the way, I love you and thank you for doing what you do. Pizza is a sandwich.
Pizza is
Mark
a
it up.
sandwich.
Mark it up.
That's what it is right there. I wish hot dog had some say in there because hashtag pizza is a sandwich is a good hashtag. I wish hot dog was in there. Hashtag
Right.
sorry hot dog. Like that's what follows it.
I do
Right.
love the podcast quote of the week guy though. That guy's awesome.
I didn't know we had a podcast quote of the week.
Oh, it's
Wait.
every
Oh, yeah.
day or every episode on the YouTube channel, he comes out with a
And
podcast quote.
I
of the
don't
week.
know that because I'm not the one who reads the mail, so I'm sure it's probably Keegan, right?
No, it's not.
It's not Keegan. Oh
No,
man, so
no.
that shows me right there that Keegan. Hey, I know you're a loyal
Keegan,
follower. So.
yeah, Keegan is a loyal follower for sure, and he definitely does write email and comment on
Okay.
videos. But there's definitely another quote of the week guy who
I don't know who
love
quote of the week
him.
guy is off the
Thank
top of
you,
my head.
quote of the week guy.
Now, here's a question for you that
I'm gonna look him up because he's
Good-
that important to our show.
okay, so we pretty much determined then the KFC Double Down is not a sandwich. And
What
if you
is
don't know
that?
what Double
I don't
Down
know
is,
what
it's
that is.
basically
Which one's the double down?
it's the 2 pieces of fried chicken
Oh,
What's-
oh,
inside.
oh.
And then it's basically
Was that
a
the
sandwich.
whole point that you were going to from the beginning? Out of curiosity, were you trying to
No,
get to?
not really, but I mean, I was going basically down this rabbit hole, and I don't even know.
We definitely went down that rabbit hole. The problem is, Mark, we still haven't come back up through the looking glass. Like we haven't made it back yet.
I was gonna say I love what you're doing right now because there's breading on either side of that chicken.
So in theory, is the chicken itself
probably a sandwich.
each piece of chicken is its own sandwich because it's
Oh,
got
fried
breading
chicken.
on
Fried
both
chicken.
sides.
Oh, that's awesome.
Fried chicken is a sandwich.
Well, each
it probably
piece
is.
of the chicken is a sandwich
Well, there's
because
breading
there's
on either
breading.
side.
There's breading on both sides of the
Yep.
chicken, right? It's a breaded
Right.
piece of chicken, so it's two sandwiches encasing whatever the hell's in the middle of.
So I have to go back to this. 1001 E-Boy is the podcast quote of the week guy. Every single week
Right.
he goes through, listens to
job.
our whole show, and does a
Now-
quote of
now-
the week. I love
Now
it.
we've got to see if he says stromboli or pizza is a sandwich, or KFC like fried chicken is a sandwich.
Poor guy's probably frantically like typing all this stuff, going, "I don't know which one's better." Like,
You know what? Seriously, I love you. 1001 E-Boy. Made me quote of the week because it's really important to me.
so out of
I'm very shallow. I want quote of the week all the time.
Mike likes quote of the week.
I like quote
And
of the week.
I love that you do quote of the week for us. But now I'm so intrigued on sandwiches.
Don't worry about sandwiches. Maybe quote of the week. Seriously.
What's your thought, Mark?
Quote of the week.
What is the definition of a sandwich?
Quote of the week.
See, I think that's the thing is,
Quote of the week.
it's one of those.
Sandwiches are delicious.
I love
Well,
sandwiches.
well, what's that guy?
Shut up, Jeff.
Wittgenstein, where there was that philosophy like we don't know what the hell we're talking about because we don't
You
understand
clearly don't,
what
but I do.
the meaning of words are.
Sandwiches.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Mark.
Sandwiches
So we got like, so there's a philosopher that basically says that
001.
most people they don't understand what they're saying because when we say like a car, you don't know what. I mean, you can have different images of what constitutes a car.
Right.
So if you take a tire off a car, is it still a car? If you take the engine out of a car, is it still a car? I mean, what point do you not have a car? Oh, so anyways, let me give you another example besides sandwiches. Mike, stop.
001. You boy.
Oh, sorry. I can't keep a straight face with Mike doing his thing.
My wife, she went to North Korea. Not recently, but she went to North Korea, and on the trip there, she was on the North Korean Airlines, right?
Go ahead, Mark. Sorry. Go ahead.
She was in the North Korean Airlines, and they gave her a hamburger. And can you
I like
what's a
hamburgers.
hamburger?
1001. You boy.
So,
Sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
I'm not really sure where you're going with this.
I don't know what's happening. Go ahead.
if I was with Mike now, I think he's drunk. Unfortunately,
Like, you know, Jeff,
I
you just
have
need to
no
do that.
idea.
Really, just cross the.
If this man's drunk right here, it's possible. But
Could be.
I'm trying so
Oh.
hard for quote of the week right now. I want it. 1001 E-boy. I love you. You're my favorite listener. Love you.
Interesting.
You're super hot.
so, North Korea has their own airline that
Sense of
serves
humor.
hamburgers.
Yeah, well, to get to North Korea, you have to go through China, and North Korea basically has an airplane that takes you from.
You live in South Korea and you have to go through China to get to North
He
Korea.
lives in Japan.
I live in Japan.
Oh, I'm sorry. You used to live in South Korea.
So
Jeff
to
thinks
get into
they
North
do
Korea,
all
there's
like-
two ways.
Well, they
There's-
do, but I mean,
To get into North Korea, there's two ways. You got to either take the train or you could take the airplane. And for Americans, you can't take the train. You have to take
Through the
the
water.
airplane for some reason.
and it's from Japan.
It's
Excuse me,
from
China.
yeah. So you go from Japan to China to North Korea. And anyways, while she was on the airlines, they gave her a hamburger, but they're very literal when they give her a hamburger.
It's like
so can you?
ham in between two pieces of bread.
Yeah, it's ham between hamburger bread, and that was their hamburger.
What is hamburger
Yeah.
bread?
I don't know. It's just like like McDonald's
Buns or is
bread.
it bread?
Wait,
Like a bun, basically.
but you said
call it a ham-
hamburger bread? Like, is it ham mixed in with the bread?
That'd be
No.
delicious.
It was
It would be delicious.
hamburger bun with a slab of hamburger. I mean, a slab of ham in between it, and they
Oh.
called it a hamburger.
You know what's kind of funny? You know what's really funny about that is you said hamburger bread, and my mind was instantly like, "What the hell is hamburger bread?" Like having ham. But you're right.
That
we
sounds like the most delicious thing.
but
ever.
we call them hamburger buns, and there's no ever thought that there's ham or burger within that bun. It's known that that is bread, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
What's the difference between a hamburger bun and a hamburger bread?
Or a
The
bun.
difference is how much I love 1001 E-boy and quote of the week. I love it. It's great. I enjoy quote of the week.
I have a feeling that.
I sure hope I'm quote of the week. I've really been trying hard. I don't know if you guys have noticed.
Have you failed? So having never known about the quote of the week, which means that you may not have been telling us about the quote of the week? I'm not sure. Like,
Well, Mark knew about it for sure.
So am I winning the quote of the week all the time or something? Like, why have I not
No.
been told about quote of the week?
No, I feel like I've been winning most of the time.
So why are you so determined to win again?
I want to keep up my streak. That's what's happening right now.
So where is this quote of the week going? Because
Every
That's
YouTube
on
video
YouTube
we
comments.
ever have, it's right on the comments.
it's in the comments. Okay. So I thought you meant it was an email that came to you specifically.
Oh,
yes,
no.
I've read the quote of the week comments.
Oh yeah. He just does it every single week. 1001 E-boy. He's the awesomest listener, maybe ever.
So I'm good with that, but it's okay. You won't win quote of the week.
I think I will.
Ever
I think
again.
I've got it this week. I hope.
Ever again.
If
All right.
not, I might hate 1001.
Oh, okay. So we talked about sandwiches, right? But
I
what's
love
the difference?
sandwiches. Let's talk
What's
about
the difference between a sandwich and a burger? Can you have a chicken burger, or does it have to be a chicken
Yes,
sandwich?
you can have a McChicken sandwich. Oh,
oh!
I feel like
Damn it! I think you just won quote of the week from that one, but only from your stupidity.
you know what? I'll take it anyway. I can get it. I feel
Can you
like,
have a chicken sandwich or a chicken burger? Yeah, you can have a chicken burger. It's called the chicken sandwich. Oh.
I feel like I don't know the difference between a sandwich and a burger anymore.
I would think that sandwich and burger are interchangeable,
I'm-
whereas burger
Well, then you would
is-
say that a pizza is a burger as well.
I feel like maybe if you bend a piece of pizza in half, it
or
might be
is a pizza
burger.
a wrap? Like I
Maybe
mean
it's
that's
kinda
where
like
that's where we're at.
flatbread.
Is a pizza a burrito? So
Who
is
knows?
pizza now Mexican? Like
Well,
Mexican
I had
pizza.
a Mexican
What
pizza
the fuck
before.
is a
Oh,
Mexican
my
pizza?
goodness. Oh, game changer. I don't know what happened today. I feel like my mind is blown.
Talk about you selling Mexican pizza anymore?
1001 E-boy. You're awesome. That's all I know.
His mind is blown.
I don't know anything
Definitely
about
blown.
sandwiches or wraps or
This guy.
burritos
Wait, right here.
or
Boom.
anything. I don't know anything about
Right.
anything.
I can do right here, or I can really go like right here. Mind blown. It's,
Mind blown.
It's all the same.
1001
Oh, sorry.
E-boy.
Do that again, Jeff.
Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, right there. This guy. Mind blown.
We're all in Japan.
See, I'm there too. I'm everywhere. I'm like a wrap or a burger. I'm everything you thought that I wasn't, and where you thought that I wasn't.
All right, we got to go.
We do have to go.
Okay. Thanks for listening, everyone.
E-boy Mike.
Hopefully
Barker,
you-
family and wants to have your baby.
I think so.